For more on this, we're now being joined by Ruthie Bloom from Tel Aviv. She is a former advisor at the Office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and also an award-winning columnist. Welcome to World DNA, Ms. Bloom. Now, Israel has conducted precision strikes on Iran. As we speak, a second wave of strike is underway in Iran's Shiraz city. Get us the latest on this, and do you think that there will be more strikes from Israel on Iran right now?
Well, yes, I think the fact that we call it a wave, this is the second wave, indicates that there are going to be more waves, especially since you have to understand Iran is quite far away from Israel. And as far as we know, there are some 140 Israeli Air Force planes in the air and in Iran. And you don't just execute an operation like that if it's going to be very short and then just come back. And the fact is that unlike most of the times that the IDF spokesman, Hagari, has made an announcement about such a strike anywhere, it's always been after the planes have returned to Israel. This is an exception. These planes are still over Iran, so that's significant. The other thing we know is that Israel has hit or is targeting the long-range ballistic missile facilities and also air defense capabilities of Iran. And it's true that it has not gone after the oil fields or the nuclear facilities. But what we know is that the Biden administration has been urging Israel for weeks not to do anything with the oil fields or the nuclear facilities. So it's possible that the reason that's being stressed has to do with Biden's admonition.
Right, Ms. Bloom, taking that point forward, you speak that there will be more strikes from Israel on Iran right now with the second wave underway. First up, do you think that the oil facilities will be targeted in the following strikes? Because right now, Israel has conducted precise strikes only on military targets. And second, do you think that Israel is acting under pressure from the US right now? Because like you mentioned, the oil and the energy facilities have not been targeted yet.
Yes, well, I think I doubt that we're going to go after those oil fields before the U.S. election, because it seems that the administration in Washington has been clear that it does not want that kind of attack before the election. Now, whether Israel is going to conduct more strikes after November 5th, which is really fast coming. You know, it's only, I believe, I lost count, but I think it's about 10 days from now. And that's not very far in the future. Now, the other question is what Israel will strike if Iran retaliates for these strikes. That's always a question. Now, Iran was doing a lot of saber rattling in the last couple of weeks, and then suddenly its rhetoric became softened. It said, well, if Israel only targets military bases, then maybe we won't retaliate so strongly. This indicates, by the way, that the Biden administration was also in touch with the Iranian regime, saying, you know what, let Israel retaliate for your October ballistic missile strike. Let them do something very limited, and then you do something limited or don't do anything. Because otherwise we're going to have an escalation. You know, that's the favorite word of the Biden administration, an escalation in the Middle East, as though there hasn't been one for the past year, by the way.
Right, Ms. Bloom, just shed some more light that Iraq has closed its airspace right now. And earlier we had seen how Iran had issued a warning to Jordan and the other countries to not help Israel's retaliatory attack on Iran. Talk to us about the airspace that Israel would have used for the latest precise attacks on Iran.
Well, I have to say that geographically, it's very odd. It seems that it's impossible for Israel to have flown over all of these countries that said they wouldn't allow the airspace to be used. So we will find out later, probably, or at some point, which airspace, who did allow Israel. For all we know, it could be Saudi Arabia. See, the trouble is that what is said in public is not said, what is said in private is often not said in public. So I can't answer that exactly right now. But what we do know is that Israel got there. And you're talking about, something like close to 1,000 kilometers away from Israel. And for the Air Force planes to be able to go that far undetected, it couldn't be that they're undetected. It's too far. It's not like Lebanon, which is right here, and Gaza, which is right here, even Syria. So I think that we should wait to see what emerges about the airspace.
Right. Ms. Bloom, you also worked as the former advisor at the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. If you can just talk to us more about the larger intent of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu right now, because yesterday there were Gaza ceasefire talks and today we've seen Israel launching those precise strikes on Iran.
Well, I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu realizes that in order to achieve any kind of peace deal of any sort, you first need to achieve victory over terrorist organizations, all run by Iran, funded by, trained by. They're all Iranian proxies. We have a 7-front war going on right now against Israel, and it's all guided by the head of the octopus, which is Iran. I think that Netanyahu has realized that at some point there's no choice but to go after Iran directly, because that really, Iran is the real culprit here. Now, you're right, there are talks, Netanyahu's engaging in talks. We also still have 101 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. So yes, we're conducting talks, but the difference is we cannot conduct those talks by ceasing fire. We need to have military pressure along with diplomacy and a credible threat to the enemies, and in order to create deterrence and to cause them to want a ceasefire, not to stay in power, for example, not for Hamas to stay in power in Gaza, and not for Hezbollah to be situated in southern Lebanon, posing a threat. So as I said, I think this is a combination of a credible military threat against the enemy and diplomacy.
Right, Ms. Bloom, thank you for joining us on World DNA with your insights. We'll wait and have to see how Israel takes forward these strikes on Iran. Like you mentioned, more strikes underway from Israel on Iran. But thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.